Those deep balls, he throws for 400 yards and he has 4 touchdowns. But that's not the reality that we live in. He didn't connect on those deep balls. So just like we're looking at a throw that could have been an interception, we're looking at the throws that could have been touchdowns, and we're coaching the process.
That right there, Matt Weiss, Michigan's co-offensive coordinator. Maybe he'll call the first play coming up on Saturday. Maybe it'll be Sharon Moore. Welcome in, Dennis Fithian, joined by former Wolverine Jim Scarcelli. We're ready to kick things off here on Thursday. Scar, good to see you. How are you?
I'm great. We finally got some nice, cool football weather, and we got an undefeated Michigan team going into a hostile stadium, and we are ready. Michigan's football is ready to go.
It's a good time to be a college football fan. It's a really good time to be a Michigan fan, and they've got a good team. They've got good things going on, and this is an exciting game that's different. They're heading on the road for the first time, so that is different. Scar, we always over the last couple of weeks have been grabbing some plays and talking about them. And here's some of the other things that we are going to talk about as we jump right into it. You are, as mentioned, a former player, so you will know what it is like to not only play on the road, but you played in Iowa City at this very stadium, Kinnick Stadium. We'll ask you about that. You heard Matt Weiss there at the beginning, Michigan's co-offensive coordinator. He talked this week to the media, and Jim Scarcelli watched that, had some thoughts on what Coach Weiss had to say. The game of the week, pick of the week. That's what POTW stands for. Scar's pick of the week. We'll have that for you. And then Jim will also telestrate some plays for you. If you're out there and wanted to get in, you had any questions, you had any thoughts, you had some opinions, put them up there on the screen. We will talk about them in real time. Let's start out at the top there with playing on the road, and specifically Kinnick Stadium. You hear former players talk about this particular venue, and all of you guys seem to have a common theme about playing in Iowa City. What was your experience like, Jim?
Yeah, we played there 2 years in a row, my last 2 years, and neither of them were good experiences. My 85 was at moments in that game was the loudest place I ever played in, because they were number one, we were number two. It was a real loud, hostile place. The fans are right up on you, close, but they're good. They were always good, They're a good team. So, yeah, that makes things tough, too, when you're going against a good team.
Number one, weren't they? Number one?
Yeah, they were number one. We were number two in 1985, and it was a loud. And their fans were smart. They know when to get loud. They know when to get loud. Our offense had a hard time communicating. So JJ is going to be, a different environment, but he's been on the road. He played at Michigan State a lot last year. He'll be fine with the noise. They got the pink locker room. I don't know if it's still pink, if they painted over it, but it is what it is. It's deal with that. But, they've been good there, and we've struggled there, the last 4 or 5 times we've played there. But, this is we got to communicate. Our offense has to communicate non-verbally and do a great job with communications, because that crowd can add to penalties, and we've been good offensively with not having many penalties, but we've been playing at home. So I know they've worked on it, and the non-communication has got to be great when you go on the road offensively. But tough place, but I feel confident.
One thing that I recall, the first time I went to Iowa City, I watched Michigan play. It was the last time they won there. You talk with some Hawkeye fans; they're nice and everything, but it's like a few venues in the Big Ten, in that Iowa's everything. I mean, it's out there in the middle of the corn. They don't have Ann Arbor, everything surrounds, and revolves around Michigan. But really, you jump on the expressway in less than an hour, you're at a Pistons or Red Wings or Tigers game, or you go to the Lions game. I mean, there's other things that are considered, in addition to Michigan football, if you're a sports fan, even if you are just a total, engrossed in Michigan. In Iowa, it's nothing but Iowa Hawkeyes. It's everything. And that's something when they get a game day and they get a big time opponent, it is it's something, and they've had some success against big time opponents. It's something that the crowd and the people of the entire state that they look at and they say, okay, and you hear them. And I watched Kirk Ferentz talk this week, and he said, no, we're not. I'm not. He said, playing the revenge card, but there's some guys that were saying some things about revenge at the Big Ten title game. But he said these guys they know when the players are coming out, what they've got to do, and what kind of game this is. And he kept talking about different players, whether it was Mozzie Smith or this guy, and how, Iowa, he was playing a little bit of that underdog card. It's like, we can't get the guys that Michigan's getting. We can't get this guy. And I think they use that, like the little underdog. We're Iowa. If it's Michigan, if it's Ohio State, I mean, this is our chance to put our name on the map. And everybody in the city and the entire state is behind them. And they use that effectively.
Yeah, that was a great point. That's a great observation by you. Coaches are psychologists, and Kirk Ferentz worked under Hayden Fry. Hayden Fry is the guy that built it. He had a doctorate as a psychologist, hence the pink locker room. And I remember preparation for Iowa back in the day where the injury report was, all these guys are going to be out. This guy's hurt. This guy's, and then you show up on Saturday and there ain't nobody out, and they're looking great. All about psychology, but Iowa, he was using that, saying how the Michigan's got all these top kids, but they recruit a different type of kid. They're like Wisconsin. That's why they run. I think that's why they run offensively what they run. They're not going to try to outspread you. They're not going to. They know that they're going to run, with tight ends, and the same thing Wisconsin does. And that's their type of football. So they're going to recruit different type of players that might not always show up on these recruiting lists. But this is a game where both these teams match up, which hence should be a low scoring game because both defenses should be able to, have a good understanding of what the offenses do because we're very similar on both sides of the ball.
Hey, Scar, did Harbaugh call you this week? Because, the Iowa's pretty much running the same thing they ran back in the early 80s as they'll be running Saturday. I mean, not a whole lot has changed. They're like, hey, they're going to be looking their big tight end. They're going to try to bleed the clock, tempo, look for tip passes, overthrows. And if they get a turnover, all of that. Harbaugh call you and say, hey, what do you remember about the kind of offense they were running back there under Fry?
Well, I think coach knows what they're doing there, and but yeah, it's real similar. I mean, they were a fullback tight end team back in the day. I remember lining up against a guy named Jonathan Hayes, played in the NFL a long time, big tight end, Chuck Long, but same.
What did they do with your tight ends? What is it that they used to like stand them up like they were receivers on the line? Is that what they just back them off the line? I don't know if they do that anymore.
That was the Hayden Fry philosophy, and it really made it easy as a defensive player to play reach blocks and sweeps and those kind of things because you are naturally underneath the guy. The leverage was automatically in your favor, but Hayden Fry believed that they could see the secondary and the adjustments, and they could see what was going on. So he thought it was an advantage there, but it may have been, but it sure was a disadvantage in terms of trying to block, an edge player, outside linebacker in that situation.
Yeah, when I was there, I don't know, it was 2005, I think, 2004. They had these like high school bleachers set up behind the one goalpost, and I sat there in the front row with my feet on the grass, and 5 feet in front of me was the end zone. Since then, they've renovated it and they've closed that end, which makes the volume go up. But the one thing that you notice, and players talk about this, and I don't know if you can get this at any other stadium in the Big Ten. You look at where Michigan's bench is, and even you look at the visitors across the way, there's a little way to walk, behind the, where the players sit. There's a little bit of, I don't know, you can probably at least drive a cart, there's some equipment, in Iowa City, you've got the bench, and right behind, I think, Scar, if you reached up, I think you might be able to slap hands with the players. I mean, that's how much room. I don't know, 5 feet, where I think it's at least 10 feet everywhere else. I think they've got the tightest sideline, or the tightest ratio to where the fans are at to where the opposing bench is. Maybe that's the best.
Yeah, that's, I don't know if they've changed it, but that's how it was, when I was there, 35 years ago. So yeah, that they could literally put their hand right on my shoulders, and they were talking, and they weren't saying nice things. So I remember that. I remember sitting on our bench, and it was right there. They could reach out and say what they wanted to say, and you could hear them.
The Big Ten Network, I like the Big Ten Network, a lot of their shows. Whenever they do those classic Iowa Michigan games, or they're doing it from an Iowa standpoint, they always play the 85 Iowa Michigan game. They always play that on the Big Ten Network. I don't know if you've noticed that or not, Jim. Have you?
I've taken a peek. Yeah, I've seen the game, played in it, and I remember the kick at the end, and I remember the fans running on the field, and it was a volatile environment, and we had to get off that field, and it was not a good experience, but this would be a better moment for the Wolverines.
What I've noticed this week, if people already, they talked about Maryland, but they quickly went on to Iowa, and on Monday sounded like, it was already a Saturday morning. People talking about, well, this play and that, this is what the score is going to be, and everything else. By Tuesday, it already seemed like maybe analysis by paralysis, where, people just want to see this game. That's a good thing, that people are so excited, just talking about the fans and, nervous about Michigan being able to do this and that. James is getting a little bit of that feel as he says, he feels like this is do or die for the college football playoff. If we lose this and beat OSU at home, we'll be lucky to go to the Rose Bowl. So I'm hesitant.
Yeah, hey, this is, I picked this as our second toughest game on our schedule at the beginning of the year, just because it's on the road at Iowa. Now, Iowa's offense is looking average. They went to Rutgers and struggled. Their defense scored 2 touchdowns. But I know, their defense is going to be good. This could be a heck of a fourth quarter football game. Every possession is crucial because you don't get many possessions against Iowa. They go in the huddle and they run the football, and then they go back in the huddle. And same with Michigan, we go back in the huddle. Neither team is looking to speed up the game. So every possession is crucial, which leads to a low scoring game. Hence why Iowa is always going to have such a great stats defensively versus the score, because that's going to help their stats because of the way they play offensive football also.
Well, and James is right. If you're thinking about the college football playoff, there's never been a team that's had 2 losses that has made the college football playoff. So, you don't want to lose this game because you can't lose any other one. So, so from that standpoint, win this game. Now, that doesn't mean you can't get to the Big Ten championship game. Iowa is over on the west side, and if you get over there and you win, that's why those Big Ten East games are worth like 2 or 3 times the amount of any other game you're playing. And they'll start that next week on the road when they take on Indiana. But when you're talking about the bigger picture, and James is, and Michigan has put themselves in position since they went there last year, the kind of team that they have, that people are talking about winning all of their games and going back to Indy and going back to the college football playoff. And I think they should.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got so many players back on offense, and our quarterback is a little more dynamic. And, it looks like we filled in some of those missing spots on defense real well. So, we should be a real confident team, going into Iowa City.
Yeah, I turned on the tape of last year's. I still have it in the DVR of the Big Ten championship game, and turned it on. And I know we're going to talk about Joel Klatt in a little bit, but the first thing, like, they going out there, Gus Johnson, Michigan getting ready to kick off, Joel. And Joel said, Michigan just cannot afford any turnovers in this game, tip passes or overthrows. It was pretty close to what he was saying. And, that particular line could be used for this game if you're talking about important factors and whatever you think of Joel Klatt. That considering Iowa's offense and, where Michigan is at on special teams, that would be the big difference maker. If Michigan turns the ball over, it's going to squeeze this game tighter, especially bad turnovers like in your own end. And Iowa last week had a pick 6 and a scoop and score. Those are really bad turnovers. So, if we're talking about keys as I don't know, fans, media, observers here, not the coaching staff, I'm sure they want to stay away from turnovers as well. But just looking at it from where we're at, if Michigan can stay clean that way and not have bad turnovers, they have a really good chance to win this game.
Well, Danny, that's not new groundbreaking information to say that you got to win the turnover battle by old Joel there. That is always number one. Always, every football game, number one, secure the football, secure the football. That's always number one. And in Iowa, defensively, the reason they have so many interceptions is they play more zone defense than anybody in the Big Ten. That is their philosophy. Phil Parker, the defensive coordinator I played against, former Spartan, worked under Norm Parker, zone guy who worked under Gary Moeller. Those guys go way back. They are running the same stuff, that Barry Alvarez ran defensively, zone defense, which leads to a lot of interceptions because you see the ball. You're not playing man, you're playing zones. And that's the correlation between why they have so many interceptions. But hey, last year, Denny, I'll get into the offense now. Last year, we struggled really to move the ball early against them. We got the Donovan Edwards halfback pass going to really loosen them up, but they really did a good job against our power play. And then we got Corum going on the JJ RPO where he kept it, and they stretched that defense, and then Corum went the distance. But we struggled moving the ball.
Yeah, I watched the game last night. Two big. You're right. It was 14-3 at the half. But other than the two big plays, and you mentioned the TD pass from Donovan Edwards, and we don't know if he's going to play. Corum had a 67-yard touchdown run in the first quarter that got Michigan on the board. But other than that, there wasn't a whole lot that Michigan was able to do offensively until the second half when they broke it open. Meanwhile, Iowa, their first drive. Like if this happened on Saturday, everybody would be freaking out. Iowa took the opening drive, and they went right down the field on Michigan, and they were set up in the red zone, and they had, whether it was a fullback or tight end, wide open in the end zone, and the quarterback just missed him by like 5 yards. I mean, he had the DB beat whoever was on him by a couple yards, and he overthrew it by a couple. Might be a different story there, but yeah, you're right. I mean, Iowa was pretty stingy other than those two big plays in Indianapolis.
Yeah, hey, that's how those games are decided sometimes. Just a play here, a play there. You make the right play, and the slow Iowa offense, it slows the game down. I just think we need to be creative and continue to be creative offensively because it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough coming with three tight ends and fullbacks going against this Iowa defense. I think. They're going to be good at that stuff. That's what they see every day from their offense. So, I'd like to see the creative, constantly changing formations, shifting, adjusting, motioning, jet motioning. That's when I think Michigan is at their best when they're, when we are constantly making the defense think, making their coordinator think, make them get the right people on the field. And that's the best approach, I think, against this defense. And the play calling, I think we had two bad series against Maryland, the first two drives in the second half. But otherwise, I looked at our play calling, and I thought Michigan did a pretty good job, other than them two series when I was really looking at. And we have to be creative in this week, too, not be predictable by formation or not being afraid to throw on a 15-yard line like we were when we had bad field position last week against Maryland.
Yeah, the one that jumps out to me is in the second half. I think it was the first series where they're running the 4-string running back on a 3rd and 4 up the middle. I didn't like that play, but I don't know who was responsible. Maybe it was Sharon Moore saw something. Maybe it was just his turn where they were flipping a coin on who was going to call the play or not. And that's what Matt Weiss came out with. I'm being a little sarcastic there. We're going to get to it. I'm just trying to have fun with Michigan a little bit, and we're going to get to that coming up. Travis asking about that creativity. He's saying, how often have we seen JJ, Corum, Donovan in the backfield at the same time? That's what he wants to see on Saturday. It's a nightmare for defenses. Well, Travis, in the first 4 games, this is Michigan's playbook, and I'm holding a single sheet of paper. I think now this is the playbook. Michigan has not had any wrinkles. Michigan has been saving things. They didn't want to put anything on tape. There's no saving anything on tape. If A.J. Henning is available and 100%, you can line him up in the backfield. If Donovan Edwards is ready to go, you can split him out and put Henning and motion him in the backfield. You can have both of those guys there. You can do all kinds of different things, and I would expect that they would unload all of their favorite plays that they've been working on all summer, in fall camp, through the non-conference slate. They've been waiting for Saturday to unleash the playbook. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we might see something different. I mean, that's how we got the Big Ten championship game going with the the Donovan Edwards halfback pass. So yeah, these are the games. If you're struggling, you got to get them, change it up a little bit, and dig into one of those plays you've been working on. Because I guarantee you, those first 3 weeks of our season, we worked on plays that we're saving for these type of games. Like they said, they worked 7 weeks on that play. To finally use it in the championship game. So as far as both backs in the backfield, Denny, the problem with that is which of those guys are going to block. If you're going to try to, if you're going to try to run the football with two of those guys in the backfield, that could be a good passing situation with both of them in the backfield. Flare them out. You could do some things there. But the problem with having both halfback type players, you really don't have a lead blocker to, come and take on a linebacker. Corum maybe, but that would be the downside of having them both in the game. But it could give you something in the pass game.
Scar, you played at Michigan. And then when you coached in high school ball for, 25 years, head coach, coordinator sometimes, how often – I want to know what you think of the idea of dual coordinators or the collaboration. Joe Klatt was talking about it on the game. And let's just say it was in a negative way. Joe Klatt didn't like it. And, I see a lot more problems with it than I see any benefit. But, look, I want to hear what you have to say about it. You've had the headsets on. You've worked through these during the week. You've allowed an offensive coordinator. I remember you saying in the summer that, you didn't step in or step on your offensive coordinator. You allowed him to call all of the plays. Unless it came down to, the goal line situation, whether you're going to go for it or, at midfield, whether you wanted to go for it instead of punt or something like that. So what do you make of Jim Harbaugh? And, we've known this for a long time, but, it was, had some light shined on it by Joel Klatt on Saturday against Maryland.
When I played, Schembechler and Coach Hanlon, and then it was always a third guy, they had a collaboration. That's what Jim saw. That's what Jim, I think, grew up seeing. And I believe that Jim is on the headsets and possibly part of that collaboration. Okay, now, I really liked the way Weiss answered the question because Joel kept digging. He kept digging, trying to get an answer to that like it's an absolute in football. You got to have one guy call plays. Like that is like you can't win without it, according to Joel. Okay, and Weiss was basically saying, according to Coach Harbaugh has it set up differently, Denny. And there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, right? Just make sure the knife is sharp, right? There's a lot of ways to get it done. And Coach Harbaugh believes that with Weiss, Moore, possibly Michael Hart at times, possibly Coach Harbaugh at times, that the collaboration, it's same thing with any type of work that we've worked in. When you give people ownership, sometimes they work harder. Like Michael Hart, he's not even in this mix, but I guarantee you he might see some things and say, hey, let's look at this. And Weiss might listen to him, or Moore might listen to him. But when you have that kind of a collaborative understanding situation, you tend to get ownership. And it can lead to a lot, maybe a really good work environment. But I don't know exactly who has that final say there. And it was kind of good that Weiss didn't feel the need to tell Joel that. But I think there could be an upside to it also from that collaboration ownership standpoint. And I don't know that there's a firm, got to have one guy, to be successful offensive play caller.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me, Scar. Now, all the things you said about collaboration during the week, Mike Hart, hey, we like this play. Sharon Moore, we want to run this way. Weiss saying, hey, I really like this when it comes down to a passing situation. But I haven't been able to. I've been working through the idea of game day, of being on the headset and whatever the first 3 or 4 plays that you script are. And then the next thing who's calling the play? Is Matt Weiss, because it's a pass play and, that's what he feels like should be happening. he's going to call a pass play, and then Sharon Moore's coming in the next time with a run play. And what happens if it doesn't work? And aren't you setting something else up that you might want to do later? And to Collatte's point, which I have heard since I've been watching football, it's like a quarterback. Why do they have a nice throw to, out there for a little bubble screen or something? If you watch it a million times, you hear the announcer say, well, they want to get him in a rhythm. They want to give him a nice something easy to go to. And the play calling is the same way. One play plays off another one. And if you don't like the call that comes in from the headset from, let's say, Matt Weiss and you're Sharon Moore, and you go home at night and say, I wish you would have called this, and this didn't set up. I don't see any benefit at all. I see a lot of benefit during the week. Now, what I think myself is happening is one of two things. I think that Michigan had a really manageable, if you want to, easy non-conference schedule, and Harbaugh looked at it and said, I got a lot of things that I can do here and play with these games. We're not going to lose. So I'm going to start one quarterback one game. I'm going to start the other one too, and everybody's going to complain about it, but we know we're going to win all these games, and we'll settle in by game 3, and then the rest of the time, we're not going to go to any flip-flop at any quarterbacks. We're just going to have one. He might have thought the same thing with the play calling. Hey, let's turn some dials. Let's try this. Let's have this guy run this. But when it gets in and push comes to shove, we're going to have one guy, one voice. Because when you're steering the car, you don't want the guy next to you to say, hey, take the wheel. Why don't you go ahead and steer it? It doesn't I don't see any benefit. Having a title, and he said the same thing about defense, by the way, and are they flipping a coin? Who's calling the D? Hey, Klink's calling this one, and you got Minter calling the other one. I think that Harbaugh's being coy about it. It doesn't hurt to have an extra title. In fact, it helps. It could get you more money at Michigan right now. It looks better on a resume. If you're going elsewhere, you can say you had to play calling duties. That's what I think is going on. I don't think that there's any Moore's taking the second quarter, Minter's taking the third series, and we're going to have Klink calling the first two. I think that's all a ruse when it comes down.
Danny, you're probably right. I would probably guess, if I had to guess, I would guess that Weiss has final say. But I think out of the just being the team guy that he is, and he wanted to let people know that Sharon Moore, when he makes a suggestion, I'm listening many, many times. When Michael Hart makes the suggestion, I'm listening. If Bellamy sees something in the coverage, or this guy's limping, this defensive, whatever, I just think that the way Weiss answered the question, he is probably the bottom line, the buck stops here play caller. But I think he wanted to give, he wanted everybody to know that he is listening, and these guys are part of his decision-making process. But we really don't know.
Scar, that's what I envision happening all week long. Like they're in the meeting rooms and, hey, let's try this. And Mike Hart likes this.
That's how it works, Danny.
I also feel like they're doing that at halftime. And Sharon Moore's like, hey, I really want to run this play. Okay, I get that too. But when you have the headset on and you've got the play coming in, there's so many things where if this to me, without ever having been there and called plays or anything else, it seems like it could backfire. But hey, it's however they're doing it. If they have, I'll say this, if they have success, I've always said this about coaching. I like coaches who go against the norm. That's how you actually know you have a great coach. When everybody says you should do something and they're doing something else and you have success, you say, oh, so this guy was way ahead of the curve. Now, maybe Harbaugh's a genius, for doing this, and we'll find out. But you set yourself up automatically. You set your own coaches up for second guessing. You set yourself up for second guessing. You set all the players they're like, hey, we want more calling the plays. It all, when you start thinking about it. But again, maybe Harbaugh's a genius, and I think he's a really good coach. In fact, I think he's a great coach. So maybe, he is on to something here. I'm not saying it's absolutely like I'm all team Klatt or something like this. I just like to look at it and go through the process myself of how they're going through it. And, I wonder if Harbaugh is really being innovative here.
Yeah, I think Jim is just looking at it from, he's the head coach there and he's allowing this to happen. He saw the way things were functioned under Coach Bo, and and he feels good with it. So Jim Harbaugh is, if people don't like it, you need to talk to Jim Harbaugh, not Weiss, because he's the bottom line decision maker there. But getting back to Weiss's press conference, something he talked about. I didn't really think about it so much as a coach, but he talked about JJ fumbling, and that those guys don't take hits in practice, Denny. They got pink jerseys on, so it's hard to work on ball security with quarterbacks. Like running backs, because they get popped around a little bit. But
well, JJ's not going to be overconfident about his game this past Saturday, and I think that he had a tick up in the speed of the game and the process of having to make decisions and all that, and it'll probably benefit him now that he was able to go through those parts. The other guy, and you need a really established coach to be able to do some things like this. The one situation that this sounds like, I'm talking about the collaboration of the play calling, is in New England. Bill Belichick this year, and I don't know what's going on. That's all they talked about in the preseason is like they've had a terrible training camp. They've got Matt Patricia, the defensive guy. Now he's calling the plays, but maybe it's Belichick's kid, but Belichick's got his hands on the defense. The Boston media was going nuts. And so, of course, Belichick tries unconventional things. And it's the thing that reminded me the most of this. And, of course, you got the most accomplished. And some say he's one of the top, if he's not the greatest NFL coach in history.
Yeah, Denny, I just think back to my day. I was the head coach, and I ran the defense. I never called an offensive play, but I had one guy who was assigned to – he had the bottom line. But him and the offensive line coach, they had a great collaborative relationship, and he listened to him many times, so it worked out good there. But getting back to Weiss, I really liked how the way he answered the question is, look, we're gonna do it. We're gonna take what they give you. Whatever, if the defense is overplaying power, we're gonna run zone. We're gonna run. If they're overplaying pass, we're gonna run it. If they're giving us the RPO, so take what they give you. And that's the thing that all those coaches are constantly looking at. And then he talked about the backup quarterback, which was interesting, and he didn't tell us which guy it is, but he said you go with, it was the same thing we talked about, that I said, which guy is the backup quarterback? Last week I asked that question, and he said the same things. Bowman, you got experience. He's been on the road. He started football games on the road, but they got a lot of confidence in the Davis kid. He's a mature kid. He gives you the RPO game. He gives you the leg. So I liked what he said there, and he was seeing it exactly like we were last week.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to just sit back and watch any of these news conferences. I'm used to being down there. Maybe next year I'm going to have to get down there. So there are a lot of follow-up questions that I wanted for Matt Weiss. Not saying the guys aren't doing a good job. It's tough to get a follow-up. Nobody's able to there. They ask one guy, and then the next thing they're going over the other guy. But, when he's talking about, it was a good question by whoever asked it about, how do you deal with the two fumbles and the near pick. And he came back and said, well, you can look at the other side. If, he completes two of those passes, then we're talking about 4 touchdowns. And I would say, actually, we're not talking about two things, because he had the opportunity to throw those passes. Sure enough, he could connect on them, but he didn't. That's the bottom line on those. The bottom line on the fumbles, and you could say it was the outcome that, Oluwatimi, fell on one and Kojo fell on the other. But that doesn't take away from the fact that your quarterback was really loose with the ball and dropped it twice. And one went shooting 10 yards of, diagonally. And it wasn't like he dropped it right at his feet or something. Those were bad fumbles. And he did get, fortunate, lucky, however you want to say it, when things were going well for him and it looked like he settled down. That was a bad throw that he made in the end zone. And that DB, he was an inch or two from picking that one off. Bad pass. So if you're saying he's saying we're dealing on the with the process, I listened to that and said, no, you're missing the point here. Those were bad fumbles. You got lucky that Michigan was able to jump on them, but that's an issue. Throwing a bad pass, it was on McCarthy that he didn't hit. If he would have thrown it out there and Roman Wilson, the ball would have, hit him in the hands and he would have dropped it. And then I would say, oh, I get it. Then you'd say, he put 2 balls out there that were right on the receiver and they just dropped them. It was a different story. This wasn't a different story. So I didn't like how he answered that question. I think he was missing. It doesn't mean he's a bad coach or anything else. These coaches get up there and people are coming at him from all kinds of directions, but he got a little like, oh, it would have been a different game. Sure, it would have been a different game, but that doesn't change the outcome. It's the details are important, and we get all of that for the stat sheet. But if you're talking about the process, I thought he missed the boat on that answer myself.
Danny, though, you got to remember though too, he's giving a press conference, and he's trying to defend his quarterback who made his first Big Ten start.
Good point.
And he doesn't want the media to start beating the kid up. For all we know, he may have shredded that kid in film session. I guarantee you there were some hurt feelings on both sides of the ball for that, when they broke that film out Sunday. There were a lot of mistakes that were made, both sides of the ball. And for all we know, Weiss was shredding JJ at the film session. And that's where you get after your player. You don't do it in public. In public, you defend them. That's the thing Coach Schembechler would do all the time. He's gonna defend his guys in public, but hey, when the doors are closed and the film is on, that's a whole nother story. And that's probably the psychology of what Weiss is thinking there.
Great point, Scar. That's
always a great point, Denny.
Well, it's invaluable having somebody with your kind of experience, because you probably, I think, hit the nail right on the head there of what's going on. When Weiss was answering that question. So thanks. That was good insight. All right. Anything else about what you heard from Michigan's co-offensive coordinator when he was up there at the podium talking with the media this week?
I was just impressed with him. I think he talked about bringing some of the some more of that Baltimore stuff. Maybe we're going to start seeing some more of the Baltimore Ravens run game that they do with Lamar. Maybe they're saving it. This could be the kind of game they're saving it. Denny, I don't know if we got enough on Iowa's defense. Let me quickly talk about the things that I think that our defensive football players, the first thing they heard about Monday when they came in there is, we got to stop that Iowa zone. They run the outside zone better than anybody, I think, in the Big Ten. They haven't, people know when you play Iowa, you got to stop that. But I think they do a great job with it. And then the boot off of the zone. And we really did a good job adjusting in the championship game, taking away their boot. We're going to get a straight drop. This is one team that they're going to take straight drop back. We haven't seen much of that and throw to their tight ends. But we did a good job adjusting against the boot pass. They like to run it to the field. And, it'll be interesting to see what Minter does, because they've looked at the same film. The Hawkeye coaches saw what Michigan did last year and how that guessing game will play out. Will Michigan try to do the same things? Iowa will have answers for those things. But we got to be really gap sound. And the one advantage the defense has for Michigan is we'll be able to communicate, because the crowd gets quiet when the Hawkeyes have the ball. So the communication will be in Michigan's favor. But, I think Iowa will have a hard time scoring over 17 points. I think that, our defense is really dialed in to slowing down. And I'd much rather defend this offense than old Leah in the Terrapins.
You like calling him Leah. What about this particular narrative that, and Harbaugh even mentioned it, this is where top 5 teams go to die. And if you look at the last 6 opponents that I was brought into Kinnick Stadium, AP top 5 foes, they have a 5-1 record. And of course, Michigan's ranked number 4, so they are top 5. Iowa being 5-1 at home in their last 6 versus top 5 opponents. Is that history? How does that play into? I see people talking about it here in the chat. How do you think that plays into this game, if it does at all?
I mean, it's irrelevant what happened in the past, but what's relevant is their crowd is smart. Their players are good. They play good defense, and they know when to get after that. Our offense has to be good. We got to be good with the penalties, man, because I know the last time we played there and lost, the crowd got our offense, scrambling and penalties, and we just got to, the nonverbal communication's got to be great. But our defense is going to be great. They're not going to get more than 17, and we're going to be in the high 20s. And I think it's going to be a low scoring game, though.
Yeah, I do too. Like, people say, well, I was playing the revenge factor, of getting blown out in the Big Ten championship game. Okay. I do think that, if you're a coach and say, look, Iowa as a program, we have success against these teams because we believe that we can beat them behind our crowd, in our game plan. They'll say some things like that. How much that, resonates with the players and how much they really believe, you better believe. They better believe that they can beat Michigan, or it's going to be another 42-3 game. So being able to point to something like that probably does give you a little bit of confidence that if you can hang in there, in the early going and they get to halftime, we could do it, that kind of thing. But how much it plays really in with the mindset of the players, that's kind of going to be hard to determine.
Yeah, I don't know how much revenge or overconfidence. I mean, Michigan will not be an overconfident team going in there just because of what happened last year. They know Iowa's good. They know what they're going into. Our guys will be fired up and know that they're going to play a tough opponent and not take anything lightly. And you're playing for a Big Ten championship, man, on the road, and we won't need any more motivation. Our guys aren't taking anything lightly. So I guarantee you we had a great week of practice, and we'll be ready to roll.
All right. Well, that gets us to the next item. And for those, sometimes you just casually walk into these picks of the week, but anybody that's been following Scar since week 0 knows that he has been impressive on his pick of the week, and it is time. Scar, I've got your record 5-1. Is that what you have in front of me? I'm just the straight, and then you could add, because you threw Wyoming in there one week, you could get to 6-1, but I've got you down at 5-1, and you're straight up lock solid lead pipe pick of the week. What do you think?
I'll tell you, Danny, there's two I really like. I really like the under in this Michigan-Iowa game. It's at 42 right now because I don't think Iowa's going to score much. And I just really like Iowa's defense. Scoring is going to be tough, and it's going to be a low-scoring game. Both teams run the clock. I like the under. But I think my pick is I'm going to go with Kentucky on the road, getting 7. I like Coach Stoops. He plays good defense. He just went to Florida, and they beat Florida at Florida. So I'm going with Stoops and Kentucky getting 7 over at the Lane Train and Ole Miss. So take the 7. I think the game's going to be a coin flip. Maybe that should be a 3-point game. Instead, they're giving them 7. I think that's too many points.
I like that one as well. And if you know anything about Ole Miss's home crowd, I saw Lane Kiffin getting asked about it this week. And it's like, I can't do anything. Nobody's showing up. They're all out partying. And they're not getting to the game to the second quarter. And then they're leaving by the end of the third. He's like, I can't force them, to go into the stadium. So I don't know how much that affects the team. He said, he walks in there and he mentioned that it looked like a high school game. So, he's putting it out there to try to get the fans in there. But if they're having too much fun, what can you do? I like that too. I think that Kentucky could win that game outright. I think that's a great pick. And I also like the under. At first I thought 20-10. I've told everybody since Monday that was the score that popped into my head, but I just sent my prediction in and I changed. I gave Michigan a couple more points. I gave Iowa a couple more too. I got 24-13, but that adds up to 37. So that's the under 41. So I agree with that one too, Scar.
Yeah, I just think, we scored last year on, the halfback pass and a lot of the things that, our coach is going to have the courage to do those things again. But I just think it's going to be a low-scoring game because both defenses have the advantage here because we see what each other does. We see it all the time in practice. So it should be low-scoring.
All right, I'm with you on that. All right, that now gets us to our next item, and that is the Scar of the Telestrator. And there you see Coach back there on the sideline looking up at the scoreboard. Do you remember exactly when that picture was taken, Scar? Are you happy, or are you just looking up? I mean, you look like you're concentrating.
It's all business on the sideline, man. When your players, when they see you smile, that's got to be at the very end of the game. They got to know that it's all business all the time because they are going to react to the reaction of the coach. So if you got a serious, focused face, they will be serious and focused. So that's the image you got to present to your players at all times.
All right. Having said that, we now get into some play calls, and you're taking us to the first quarter. What's this? The first play, offensive play of the game for Michigan. They just got a gift turnover on the 10-yard line, right?
Yeah, this is, hey, you're right. It's a gift. Their guy bounces it off his shoulder pads, and we get field position right here on the 10-yard line. And I like this formation on the 10-yard line. I like it because it's a run-pass formation. We got 2 tight ends in the game. And this is Bredesen now. He's getting a lot of playing time with alls out, and he's kind of filling that. And I like it. But there's 2 tight ends in the game, and we're going to throw the football. And let's take a look here. Now we get jet motion, Denny. Okay, I want you to. This is called the midline here. This is a common with all football. Look at all the things going on. We got jet sweep going on. Okay, so we got jet sweep, and the defense is reacting to that. These guys are blocking jet sweep over here, so these linebackers are going to honor that. This is the key guy. We've got him frozen over here, but we're on the midline. The JJ's got the ball into the gut of Corum. We got jet sweep threat. So the defense is looking at 3 different things going on. So this is the stuff I love. I would love to see from our offense is conflict, chaos, and scheme that causes problems. We're going to watch this guy here because we got him thinking about all this stuff. And he's the key guy that we end up beating. Watch him stutter step. See how he's out of position there?
Yeah.
And that's all based on the conflict. It's all based on the conflict of all this other stuff. And that's what I love. That's great football right there. Great stuff.
Is it always called the midline? If you're over,
yeah, Jimmy, that's it's right here. It's this line right here is that you want to try to do it right in the middle behind the center. And, you look at the Navy, the option football teams, that's kind of where you want your dive back and everything to start. So the defense doesn't know which side of the ball things are going. You're right on that midline.
Yeah, it's the ball's over there on the right hash. That's what I was thinking. And you're drawing it. It doesn't matter if it's on the.
No, it doesn't matter. You want that back going right at the center. So you have the ball's on the midline here. This is a mistake. And I wanted to just point it out that their first drive, and we got to get off blocks. Sanders Stroll is still, he still hasn't played a lot of defense, but he's got to get off the block, and then we got to get to the right gap. And I think Maryland this is really a creative deal here. Instead of having this guy turn up here to block, because this guy's trying to reach Sanders Stroll, who ends up getting reached, they run this guy through here, and I think that may have got him in the wrong gap. So he needs to be here. You got to find out what gap. In general, we've been doing a good job against the bubble. You got to find your gap. Then it ends up being a big play because first down, we're out of gap. So I just wanted to point it out, stuff that we got to think about.
Yeah, that's good. Maryland did a lot of different things that kind of threw them off. That little shovel pass forward was a pretty good concept.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that in a minute, Danny.
Oh, okay, nice.
Here's this next play. The coaches talked about early in the year that we teach guys to be gap and a half players. And I want you to watch Upshaw here, but Junior he kind of rolls the dice. And this is just a regular zone football play that Iowa will run, and they end up picking up yards on it. But you got to be gap sound. We covered this. These are their gaps. Let's run it and take a look. Now, you got Jenkins here. He's fighting like heck to contain and maintain that double team. He doesn't want this tackle to come off on Junior. He's got to try to eat up this double team or stay in the B gap to make the play. Okay, now you'll see Junior here. Coach Moeller used to always tell our guys, look, if you're going to come underneath, you better make the play because Junior's gap is right here. That's the gap he's responsible for, but he's trying to make a play underneath. And I like what Upshaw's doing here. And this is what they talk about, gap and a half. Upshaw's responsible for all this out here, but he's trying to come off and make the play on the inside.
Trying to set the edge, isn't he?
He's responsible for the edge, but this is what I mean. This is what they mean when they talk about gap and a half. He's responsible for the edge, but they like to have him fall back inside and make the play for a 2-yard gain. And you can see that both of them Junior almost is there. Upshaw almost falls off on it, and they end up picking up yards, though. You see that, Denny?
I do. Do you think when they get into the fill room, they're saying, "Hey, don't look in there and stay outside"? So you've got the leverage.
Well, listen. If I'm coaching Upshaw, I'm saying, look, you did everything good. You're punching good. You're punching this guy on their side of the line of scrimmage, and just maybe he's still got that bad hand. I don't know if he has that. He had a club on his hand last week.
That's
and
right.
It makes it tough. It makes it tough to come off blocks. And you got to give your linebacker a little bit of freedom at times. Otherwise, they're just going to always, the offense will know he's always going to be in this gap. If they know he's a guy that might come underneath at times, it puts the offensive lineman in conflict. And I think you have to give them that freedom to do that at times. But they got to know they got to try to make the play. You know what I mean? So yeah. I just wanted to point that play out. This is the shovel pass. I love this play. I don't know. I wish Michigan ran it. And it puts the defense in conflict. It's putting Morris here in conflict. Let's run it. Because what he's getting right now, and again, this play is exactly like we ran, right? Denny, jet motion, right? It looks the same way. You got jet motion, and he's faking it to the jet motion guy. So it's kind of freezing the backside defense. These guys are all going to kind of honor jet a little bit. But Morris is in conflict here because he gets a down block and he's seeing this guard pull right here. So normally he's responsible for squeezing on this guard, all right, and squeezing this gap right here. He's responsible for squeezing this gap, but he sees the quarterback running option. So that's a conflict of his keys, okay? And that's why that opens up in there because they're drawing him out with the quarterback. Okay, they're drawing him out with the quarterback. It's a conflicting key. Down block, guard kick out, quarterback. They're two different deals. So for the quarterback, he's supposed to be up here on the quarterback. But for this, he's supposed to be squeezing. So this is why this play is tough to defend. And I hated defending it. I wish Michigan would put it in because it's a pain. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I noticed that in the pros, they're doing that a lot. Kansas City, when they get down to the red zone, certainly inside of the 5, they love running that shuffle. They do it to the tight end. They do it to their running backs. I mean, they're doing it a lot. Something they use more and more.
All right, let's take a look at this now. This is 3rd and 8. This is a huge play. This is 3rd and 8 here. And let me get it back a little bit. I want you to watch one player. And I don't understand what we're doing here. Okay. Now, he's an edge player. He's got to contain. You've got to contain the football. You got to contain the quarterback, especially a kid like this. The quarterbacks don't want to step up in the pocket, okay, because that's where all the big nasties are, especially this guy. They want to get outside and run. So I'm questioning for Minter and Elston. I just question how they're playing this because he's going to lose contain. And I don't blame the kid. I blame the coaches because they're allowing him to do it. So this is a huge play, 3rd and 8. We know the kid can run. We know the quarterback can run. And now he takes an inside go here. So why, coach? I don't understand it. Now, are you asking this guy to read what Morris is doing? Is the DT supposed to read this and feel it and then try to come out? I don't know. Coach, I got questions. I wish I had the answer. But this is not good football right here, allowing this kid that can run to pick up the first down, 3rd and 8. So I don't understand it. Just lost, Denny.
Yeah, 90's got to get home or they're in trouble, and they were in trouble.
Well, yeah, or just stay outside. Stay outside. Let's take a look at this now. These are the kind of plays that great protection, wears out the D. I wanted to show this. This is the JJ. This is the great offensive line protection. Okay, this is we're down 13-10. This is a big 3rd and 7, man. But these kind of plays just wear the defense out. Rushing the quarterback, and then you got this guy running around. This is tough on you. JJ running around wears you out. I wish he'd get out of bounds. He's too valuable to be taking hits like that. I guarantee you they coach that up.
Oh, yeah.
Get out of bounds, man. You're too valuable.
Slide.
Yeah, get out of bounds, slide, something, man. But I just wanted to point out how much those plays take out of a defense. Let's see what we got coming up here. This is a real good job reading the bubble. This is Sanistral. again, this is we got to keep. It's like a run play. You got to get in the right gap, but you got to recognize it. He recognizes it fast. He beats the block. He stays outside of the block. He knows where his gap is because he knows he's got this guy working inside here. He's got him working inside. You get outside. That's gap sound defense. That's great tackle. Great job by both of them. Just wanted to point that out because it was something that I thought really looked nice.
I like that one too.
Danny, this play here. Now we're always yelling at Michigan's defensive coaches for not getting our team lined up, right?
That's right.
Okay, here's the end of the half. There's 35 seconds. We're down 13-10. And if I'm coaching, I'm calling timeout. But these guys are smarter than me because they had a play called, and we catch Maryland's defense not lined up properly. And this I have to attribute to our offensive coaches. Now, obviously, to make this kind of decision, Denny, so we talk about the collaborative effort. This had to be made very, very quick. This decision had to be made really quick. So Weiss, somebody said, we're not calling timeout. We're going to run this play, and I'll show you what happens. They are not lined up. So this guy decides to take this gap. There's nobody in this gap here. Nobody. Corum reads it. He bounces it outside. We get a nice block by Bell here. But this is a unsound, not lined up, proper defense. And we made them pay. So I give our coaches and our players credit here for executing this. That's coaching, man, because they were not lined up.
Yeah, well, Maryland made a lot of mistakes with those timeouts. You just look here. That was right at the end of the half, and you can see that they had all three. If you went back, they still had all three. I know this is a different play. I looked at that. They should have called the timeout after the DJ Turner interception. They should have called the timeout right there. They do that. Those were two of the top 5 biggest plays in the game. And, they had a chance for that interception to be reversed. And if they're not ready to go, they're out of position. Somebody should have called the timeout right there too. So,
yeah. This young freshman, I see why he plays. He just stuffs dudes, and the announcer ends up calling. I mean, we get a nice job by Michael Barrett off the edge. He may have made the play, but I just liked what I'm seeing from this kid. I see why the Michigan coaches are so high on him. But we'll take a look at why he stuffs this kid in the backfield. You see how he's taking this guard, Danny? This is short yardage, man. This is 3rd and 1. We got to play football here. Okay, we got to play on their side of the line of scrimmage because we don't want them getting the first down. And he takes this guard, and he's just jamming this guy, pushing him back. And now we got Barrett coming off the edge. If we don't get this good job by Graham here, Barrett's not going to be able to make that play. So, but the announcer will call off, the guy that made the tackle, and they're not even going to mention the defensive lineman that did a great job. So a lot of people get excited about certain plays. I get excited when I watch defensive linemen, do those kind of things.
Yeah, well, you see low man wins right there. I don't know if that Maryland guy had a chance. He was basically standing up like an Iowa tight end there. Graham just, went low on him. And, he won that, right as the ball was snapped. I mean, you could see the leverage right there.
You're absolutely right, Danny. It's short yards. It's about low man wins. I got this one now. This is a huge play. We all remember this. Okay, we're up trying to run this clock down. 3rd and 6, though. We don't make this. We're punting the football. And they're expecting the short route. Predictable. They see Michigan. They watch film, and I give the play caller guts. And this decision was made quick. Who made it? Does this have to go to? Is this a Jim Harbaugh decision? I don't know.
I'll go with Sharon Moore.
I don't know, but I like it. It played out, but it's a gutsy call because they're going to be jumping on this short route, thinking we just want to make the first down. And you can see the DB. His feet are a little flat because he's not expecting this. He's looking to jump. He's kind of squares up there, and that creates that separation. So that is a great job by the play caller, a gutsy play caller there. Watch him. He's getting ready to jump on that short route.
Great throw too.
Yeah, great throw, catch, play call, everything, man. And there's the gambler right there.
He likes it.
Coach Jim. All right, let's go to the next.
The gambler.
The gambler. Let's see what I got here. Let's take a look. This is the Moten interception. Great athletic play. You know, we're up 8. Big play. Quarterback made a mistake. You'll see a linebacker here. We're going to coach him up. He got greedy. Quarterback got greedy. Now the tight end is going across, Daddy. We're in zone here. He's playing a zone. He's got to jam him and let him go, then get his head on a swivel and feel this. But he doesn't feel it. Luckily, we catch a break there, man.
Yeah, that guy's wide open.
Yeah, he should be jamming, get his head on a swivel and working back in through here, looking up this receiver coming across. But he overplayed it, and we got lucky because he doesn't see it. And he's throwing deep instead because that would have been a first down. That's 2nd and 4. This is a mistake by the quarterback and a mistake by our linebacker. But what an athletic play. One hand, fired up. That's what I like seeing, all this enthusiasm. We're up 8, interception, and we are a fired up team. Sidelines fired up. Bring on the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, one of the big plays of the game, no doubt, right there. And Mike Loxley after that, we don't know 100% for sure, but he saw that slot guy open as well. He may have benched Leah and put in that backup, who actually did a pretty good job in the drive that he had, took Maryland down the field.
Yeah, that kid did really good. And I hope Leah's healthy because I want him healthy versus Michigan State.
Why?
But yeah, he had those are the decisions, man. There was no need to throw that ball, and that linebacker was able to get coached up on that without paying a price. But a lot of good stuff there. The team definitely got coached up this week. A lot to improve on.
Here's a question from Andres. Asks you, how does the team improve its pass rush during the season?
They work drills darn near every day that are working pass rush. We're working against that great offensive line that we have. We do pass rush drills every single day, hands, speed, all the different moves. You constantly rep them. The best way, though, is to continue to do it with scheme by pretending you're bringing backers, you're bringing safeties and dropping edge guys, bringing safeties, dropping noses, all of that stuff that we've been doing, that we've shown at times this year. That's the stuff you have to do. If you don't have Aiden Hutchinson that's just going to cleanly beat a guy, you got to try to help your pass rush with scheme. And that's, I guess, the answer to that question is you keep repping it in practice, your technique, and then you keep working on scheme to help the pass rushers.
And two guys that look like they earned some more snaps are 8 and 18. That is Derek Moore, the true freshman out of Maryland. When he gets in there, he gets around the ball and into the backfield, and formerly Anoma, but now Oki. Yabi Oki, he seems to be in the backfield a lot as well when he's in there. And Harbaugh was asked about that and said, yeah, those guys, you could expect to see a little bit more from them. So 8 and 18, I also think, just personnel-wise, you might see a little bit more of them, especially when it's even if it's early in the game and it's a down and distance, it's passing down.
Yeah, those guys are going to get more playing time when they can play the run as well as the pass, because you can't just bring guys in and hope that it's a pass, So, but I really Upshaw showed a lot of good things. McGregor is showing good. I mean, we've got 4 guys that I feel real good about, with Harrell, McGregor, Upshaw, and more. So I really like that.
Jeremy wants to know, what about moving 90 inside on a third down?
We've done a lot of that. We brought 3 edge guys in. We've talked about it. We've shown it on film. Michigan will do a lot of that. Bring in the extra pass rusher, take out the defensive tackle, take out a linebacker to get those guys that know how to rush the quarterback. Because the 350-pounders aren't rushing the quarterback as well as the edge guys.
Although that 350-pounder had a hell of a game, number 58, Amazi Smith. I don't know exactly how much he weighs, but he's unique with the ability, the way that he can move at his size. He's been awesome.
He did some good things. He's definitely a Big Ten football player.
I don't want to make it sound like I'm pressing you, but if I was going to ask you for a score for the game coming up on Saturday, what would you think?
Michigan 23 and Iowa 10.
23-10. I've got 24-13. We're pretty close on where we look at it. Don't forget, me and Jim Scarcelli after the game, it's around 3:30, 3:40. We'll be on talking about Michigan and Iowa. You can see if you're watching this on YouTube or anywhere else, we've got podcasts rolling out all day long. Look at this one coming up tonight. You've got Insider Intel. That's where you're going to have Henschke on there. So, check that one out along with Justice tonight. And if you did not know this, we point out to you, if you want to hear about Michigan all day and all night, you should join up the Maize and Blue Review by going to michigan.rivals.com. And right now, you can get access today for free all the way until basketball season using the promo code UMB2B. UMB2B. Why wouldn't you do this? You'd know everything. You want to know about all those injuries leading up to game time. You want to know everything about recruiting. You want to know, speaking of basketball, Davis Mosley was on there. He was down at practice yesterday or the day before, and he did a tremendous job of getting you ready for basketball season and everything that's going on right now, getting ready for the Cagers coming up. So check all that out. Again, free until basketball season. Use that promo code UMB2B. Scar, going to be a great week. Any last thoughts?
No, we're confident. We're healthy for the most part. We're going to play well. JJ is going to play well. Our defense is going to be strong. We're going to secure the ball, and we're going to keep winning.
Great job.
All right, go blue, Denny.
There he is, Jim Scarcelli. I'm Dennis Fithian.